There we go. So these tubs in these older houses, these are cast iron. And cast iron tubs are sometimes over $1,000 now. They're actually very valuable in terms of, pricing of tubs. They're very expensive. So I want to keep that cast iron. However, when you reglaze it, you can't use harsh scouring chemicals or compounds like that for cleaning when that's done. But that's all right. We don't do that anyway. So let me pan this out here. But yeah, when you get into these houses that look like they need a ton of repairs, oftentimes they don't. Most of it is painting and cleaning things up and doing little fixes that really should have been done at some point in the past. I mean, if it was really that big of a deal to you. But once you get these places repainted, they really start to look nice. Now, this is one thing where we have made a shift in our plans. I was going to put in all new cabinetry, and we were going to put in oak. And then I started looking at this cabinetry, and I realized this is solid wood on all sides. It is actually very thick solid wood doors, which we're not going to keep the doors. However, the doors are the indicator of how nicely the box is built. And the box is built with actual plywood. I can tell, not particle board. It is built solid. So these older cabinets actually have really nice boxes. And here's where I can tell somebody made a mistake in how they cut the wire for the hood over the range. However, in doing so, they revealed to me how this is actually constructed. And that looks like a piece of Luan up there, but it is ply. The shelves are solid wood. And again, Luan on the base, which is again a type of ply. But with these cabinets this solid, I'm thinking let's just replace the doors, because the doors are dated. But you can take the doors out, put in new doors. We'll change the color of the cabinetry. Like here's one of the paints up against this tile. We started chickening the paint out against the tile, and we realized that we kind of like that look. So we're going to preserve that. So we're thinking, what are we going to do about these cabinets in terms of a color? And we haven't decided yet. White is always an option until we figure it out. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet what's going to happen with this countertop, because it's nice granite. However, there's a crack here. So I will make a decision at some point. We are replacing the appliances with stainless steel, simply because, we can, and I want it. And the other thing too is here's a good indicator of age. All these old switches, these are getting replaced with something more modern. But it doesn't have to be scary. So let me show you what I did on the floors down here. Again, some of the surprises of these old houses, which is just wonderful. So the floors originally were this, nasty old carpet. Who knows when it's been in there. This was the landing, and it had laminate. There's a little piece of it left over there. And so I pulled up the laminate, and I found this, basically this sheet vinyl underneath the laminate. And it looks like underneath the sheet vinyl, it's probably plywood, but I will find that out for sure. However, I pulled up the carpet off of the stairs going up here, and what I found is it's painted pine or Doug fir in the framing of the stairs, but the treads are oak. Beautiful, beautiful bullnose oak. So I'm going to be pulling all this off and then basically sanding it and just putting a nice finish coat on it. and we'll have oak stairs, and I can paint the treads underneath as well. So that was a very, very welcome surprise. But going down into here, this is my favorite room. This is going to be my office. But you know, somebody puts built-in shelves, which I'm kind of excited about. I have a lot of books, and this is going to be very handy. I don't know, I can't quite tell. Has that got a bow to it, or is that just my eyes playing with me? I think that's got a bow to it. It could be that knot. I'll decide later. One way to fix that is to put a piece of trim over the top of it to kind of hide it, and also to basically act as a support beam to hold it up that way. But then I'd have to go all the way down. I don't know if I'm going to do that. But it's pretty nice that they did that. And they did it both sides. So I actually get a lot of storage. And here's the problem with this room, besides the obvious, which is they painted the ceiling and probably what used to be really nice paneling. I don't know if you can tell from this, but there is a dip in the floor as it goes down this way. Very slight, but it is noticeable. And I'm going to, I wanted to take out this flooring anyway. I didn't care for it. But I'm going to get some floor leveling compound, level this sucker up, and then go down with something nicer. And going into here, again, there's not a whole lot wrong with this place. Now here, I am going to show you something that absolutely did need to get checked. Let me flip on the lights real quick. And this is something that really, really concerned me until I paid to get an electrician out here and get an actual picture of what we got going on. Okay, you can't see it from here, but when you take the panel off, there is an aluminum wire in here. And it was one aluminum wire. And so I was naturally concerned. Well, the electrician was able to trace it to the refrigerator. It is the only line in the house that was aluminum, and excuse me, goes to nothing. Goes to nothing. Me too, Switch. So where was I with my train of thought with that awesome whatever. I totally forgot what I was talking about. I will catch it in post-production. Anyway, one of the things the home inspector brought up, he thought this was mold up here. It's not. It's just, it might have been something in the past, but it's just stains. I looked at it very close. Now this room got scary for the average person. And this is the laundry room. And it's scary because they opened up the wall and the ceiling was opened up because it's a suspended ceiling. I took out the tiles to show everything that's going on up here. And to, you know, the average consumer eye, this can be intimidating because you see a lot of things going on up there. And I saw some water stains on the tiles indicating some past leak at the plumbing, which is not unexpected. At some point, you are going to have some leak at the plumbing. Now, I see what I do not like right there, which is a rubberized connection at a sewer line. I just can't tell if it's a gray water or black water. That looks, I think that's coming down from the sinks. I'm not certain because Yeah, I can't tell. This is the tub. And I think that's the toilet right there. So that's coming down from the sinks, I think. Gray water, not black water, which is, you know, better news, but still, that's not great. But what do you do? That's the kind of things you see. Now this up here, this is residue from paint dripping down from them slopping over paint. I'm sorry, slopping over glue when they glued that together. That's nothing to be too concerned about. I saw a boneheaded move right here. You got to look for this because then you can tell somebody's been doing the work themselves. Somebody soldered that pipe at some point and burned the Romex wire. So when my electrician came to price replacing the aluminum wire, he's putting in a junction box to take care of that too. And we're talking $2,300. Not cheap, but not necessarily a deal breaker either. There's the trap coming down from the sink. And that is, yeah, that's that stupid rubber fitting that I don't like. What do you do though? You know, it's just gray water. It's hand washing water. It's not creepy water. This room too has the same issue where the floor is sinking down just a little bit. That's common. That's common with older homes. You know, my realtor was suggesting getting a structural engineer to look at it. And I said, a structural engineer needs something to look at, to know what to look at. And there wasn't anything really for them to look at, so no point to it. But on the outside, you got a brick wall. There are things you want to look for. You want to look for cracks and gaps in the mortar. And there are some here, but they're indicative of something being taken out of here rather than a failure in any sort of foundation. And they can be patched. Like there was something there that got chipped off. So I think there was some actual kind of slab here at some point coming out. And you can see they had drilled into the wall and put in something to support some kind of structure back here. Something was going on. But I'll start a work taking these trees down. Let's see what else. But again, solid house. Okay, here's one of those brick cracks you got to look at. And looking at it, I don't see anything going on above or below it. So singular brick crack doesn't concern me that much. And that's gonna have to be patched. It just looks like some lazy masonry work of the past. Sins of the past are common. And here's the chimney. Chimney's actually in really nice shape, all things considered. But yeah, there's not a lot of drama here. This is all very, very doable for the average person. So, yep, that's right. I locked it and then walked out the back. Since we're gonna do that, let me show you something funny they did here. I guess whoever was living here before had an electric vehicle. Got an electric vehicle charger installed on it. Now it's interesting. I don't have an electric vehicle, but my electrician told me they can take this out and re-engineer it to be a generator intake so that if we ever lose power out here, which is possible, we've got overhead lines, but if we ever lose power, we can just plug in a generator here to power the house. I really like that idea. Here was the biggest concern of the cracking. So You see cracking? Let's start where it's the worst. It's up here, and it goes down and down in a stair-step pattern. And then it stops. It does not go all the way to the ground. And it gets less and less and less. And it's at the center of the property. This is an indicator of settling. It's not anything terribly dramatic. House isn't falling down. And I'm basically just going to come back in here with some mortar patch and put some extra mortar back in there. And that's going to be done. That's going to be fixed. You can tell somebody tried to patch it with caulk, which is or even looks like glue, the wrong way to do it. Excuse me. But yeah, very, very low drama. If you don't get too worked up, I mean, things that look bad are actually easy repairs, like those vent covers right there. It's like, oh, they look terrible. Well, yeah, paint them. It's just, that's all it is. Excuse me. But it's a nice way to get a house. And where I bought this house, it's a very nice neighborhood. Very, very calm place to live. Wonderful cul-de-sac that we're on. And I cannot wait to have my desk right next to a fireplace. And just very, very low stress. All things considered, it's a much better stress than the stress of a high mortgage for 30 years, let me tell you that. And one of the things that this does, it helps me maximize the mortgage calculation in my favor. There is a way there's a certain point in a mortgage where the advantage flips to the borrower, and every monthly payment is a majority principal payment rather than a majority interest payment. And banks tend to make their best return on investment at the front end of the loan. And so let's say you take out a loan of, $200,000. By the time you pay off, let's see, what's a third of two? Let's go with some vague numbers. Let's say by the time you pay off about $70,000 of that loan, you flipped the math to where it is paying you more in principal than it is paying the bank in interest. And the entire interest across the entirety of the loan becomes magnitudes cheaper. And I'll do that math in another video. But when you're doing one of these lower cost houses, it's easier to do that. I mean, when we bought this, we had plenty of money to put down. We didn't even need the mortgage we had. However, I knew if we took the mortgage that we got, it'd give me some cash to fund the rehab, and plus I could do this trick with the math faster and front load principal payments in order to reduce interest payments later on. I'll explain it later, but it's a neat trick I figured out. Anyway, I got more prep work to do. I'll catch you guys later.